Wildfires raging across acres of land, a tremor shaking the ground, an airplane falling from the sky, and a grandmother tragically losing her life. Sounds like the makings of a disaster movie, doesn't it? Shockingly, these catastrophic events share a common catalyst: the innocent gender reveal party. In the early evening in Kingston, New Hampshire, locals are settling in for the night when the town is rocked by a powerful explosion.
And I just heard a very loud explosion near my property. All my pictures have fallen. Something just shook my whole house. I don't know that it's in the house or right outside the house.
When police respond to the site of the 911 calls, they can't believe their eyes. The quarry isn't filled with demolition crews, but a gender reveal party in full swing. Instead of a simple balloon pop or confetti cannon, father-to-be Anthony Spinelli and his family made the announcement with a huge bang. To make it happen, they used tannerite, a brand of legal explosive that ignites when shot at. Not content with commercially available targets that used 1 pound of explosives, the Spinellis used 80 pounds. That is roughly equivalent to the explosive power of 85 sticks of dynamite. The blast was so powerful, it rattled homes in neighboring towns. Anthony Spinelli was charged with disorderly conduct and fined $620 for his actions, with $500 of the fine suspended, provided he remains out of legal trouble. In rural Knoxville, Iowa, a family has gathered for a celebration. The expecting are about to reveal their baby's gender with an explosion of colored powder. But instead of just buying a kit, they decided to take it up a notch, going for something bigger and more exciting by building their own device. That weekend, the family tried out different explosive materials, all in the hopes of capturing the perfect moment on camera. They crafted the contraption from a steel pipe believed to be an umbrella stand, which they then welded onto a metal base. Then, they packed the pipe with gunpowder and put a piece of wood in between as a buffer and colored powder on top of that. A hole was drilled in the side for a fuse, and the whole thing was wrapped with tape. They intended for the gunpowder to ignite and shoot the colored powder into the air, creating a burst of pink or blue. But without realizing it, the family had unknowingly created a highly volatile pipe bomb. When they set it off, the blast was far more powerful than they expected. Instead of releasing the colored powder, the setup exploded, sending shrapnel flying at high speeds in all directions. Soon-to-be grandmother Pamela Krymeyer was watching from about 45 feet away, along with her pregnant daughter-in-law. A piece of metal struck Pamela in the head. Sadly, she died on the scene, leaving her family and friends in shock and disbelief at the turn of events. Unfortunately, this was far from the only fatal celebration. In the midst of the COVID restrictions, a young couple wants to capture their announcement to share with the family online. The scenic El Dorado Ranch in California seems like the perfect location. Hoping to make the moment extra special, Refugio and Angelina Jimenez, along with their kids and a photographer, decided to use smoke bombs for the dramatic event. However, the smoke bombs they bought were actually illegal in California because they produced too many sparks. As the eager parents-to-be set it off, blue smoke billows, but within moments, the bone-dry grass ignites. Panic ensues as the small flames spread quickly. The group frantically tries to douse the fire with water bottles, but it's futile. The only thing they can do is call 911 and report the fire. When firefighters arrive minutes later, it's already too late. The El Dorado fire has officially begun its destructive path. The blaze spreads alarmingly fast, racing through the drought-stricken vegetation of the San Bernardino National Forest. Thousands of acres are burned within hours. The fire moves swiftly, consuming everything in its path and forcing the evacuation of 40,000 residents in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. As a result, a state of emergency was declared in 5 counties. By September 17th, nearly 2 weeks after it started, the fire had devoured over 20,000 acres of land. Among those battling the inferno was 39-year-old Charles Morton, a seasoned firefighter. Charles, a crew boss with the Big Bear Hotshots, was working with his team to protect the mountain community of Angeles Oaks. As the wind fanned the flames over Highway 38, Morton left his crew to inspect hotspots that had broken out. Suddenly, the winds intensified and the fire exploded in size. Moments later, Charles' voice cracked over the radio one last time.
"I'm in a corner."
His body was found with his fire shelter barely unfolded beside him, his clothing almost entirely burned away. The fire raged on for another 2 months before finally being fully contained in mid-November. It left behind a scarred landscape of nearly 23,000 acres, destroying 5 homes and damaging 4. The total cost of the fire, including firefighting efforts and property damage, exceeded $42 million. The couple faced severe legal consequences. Refugio pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter in causing the fire, receiving 1 year in jail, probation, and community service. Angelina received probation and community service. Together, they were ordered to pay nearly $1.8 million in compensation. In Mexico, a family hired a small Cessna aircraft to perform a dramatic flyover, releasing pink smoke over the Nechupte Lagoon. After the smoke release, the aircraft suddenly ascends sharply. Within seconds, the plane entered a nosedive, spiraling until it crashed into the lagoon.
No mames! No mames, se fue al agua.
Both the pilot and co-pilot were killed in the accident. Initial reports suggested that the plane may have suffered mechanical failure during the flight, although the exact reasons for the crash remain unclear. There would be a similar incident 2 years later, but this time, guests were unaware anything had gone wrong. The Piper PA-25 plane, piloted by 32-year-old Luis Angel Orozco, flies overhead, releasing a pink cloud of smoke. While guests cheer and pink confetti erupts from a nearby cannon, the aircraft suddenly enters a nosedive. Luis desperately tries to pull up, but the plane's left wing detaches from the fuselage, sending the aircraft into an uncontrollable spiral. The plane crashes into a nearby field, crumpling on impact. Luis was declared dead on the scene. Reports suggest the plane may have experienced structural stress due to the aerial maneuver performed during the stunt. In Arizona, another baby shower went terribly wrong. U.S. Border Patrol agent Dennis Dickey and his family have gathered in the Coronado National Forest at the foothills of the Santa Rita Mountain. They set up a tannerite target to explode with colored powder. It had been a hot, dry season, leading to vast stretches of sun-bleached vegetation. On top of that, exploding targets are banned in this area, and a fire warning is in effect. Excited to announce his baby's gender with a bang, Dennis fires his rifle, but the reveal is delayed as he struggles to hit the target. After his 11th attempt, the bullet finally hits the explosive target. The blaze spreads quickly, and the party alerts emergency services while trying to put the blaze out with water bottles.
Start packing up! Huh? Start packing up!
No.
Within hours, the fire threatened homes, prompting the evacuation of more than 200 residents. In response, close to 800 firefighters were deployed to combat the inferno. But the destruction was swift. The fire scorched 47,000 acres, turning vast stretches of forest into charred wasteland. After 1 week, the fire was finally contained. It cost an estimated $8.2 million in firefighting efforts. Dennis Dickey accepted full responsibility for the fire. During the court appearance, he told the judge the fire was a complete accident and added, "I feel absolutely horrible about it. It was probably one of the worst days of my life." He was sentenced to 5 years probation in order to pay $220,000 in restitution and damages. An initial payment of $100,000 was mandated, with subsequent monthly installments of $500 over the next 2 decades. In New York, a father's joy was cut short by a homemade contraption. 28-year-old father-to-be Christopher Peckney had a talent for mechanics and engineering. Just 2 months before, he discovered he would be a father and was looking forward to starting a family. Being a jack of all trades, Christopher dedicated considerable effort to planning a unique gender reveal for his newborn. It needed to be something memorable. So on the day of the reveal, Chris and his younger brother Michael were in the garage putting together a prototype for an exciting display later that afternoon. The homemade device was based on the exploding colored powder devices seen all over social media. It was fashioned out of some kind of pipe. The exact nature of the explosive material it contained is not known. But just hours before the party, the device exploded while the two were working on it. Emergency services arrived at a devastating scene. Chris had died instantly from a lethal head injury, while his brother was rushed to the hospital for emergency knee surgery. Chris died just 2 days short of his 29th birthday. His baby boy was born months later. Watch this episode next if you found this video interesting. Please add a like and leave a comment if you want to support the channel.